This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so during the last class, yesterday we were discussing regarding the procurement cycle. So let me go to the procurement cycle. So the first step in the procurement cycle is creation of the purchase requisitions. So purchase requisitions can be created manually or via material requirement planning. We have seen how a purchase requisition can be created. Also, we have seen how a purchase requisition can be created by using the material requirement planning program. So yesterday we have seen how to execute the material requirement planning program and what and all the mandatory settings do we need to perform as a part of material requirement planning program. Okay, so the next step in the procurement cycle is this is the Word doc Excel sheet. Okay, so I will try to explain it to you over here. So step number one is create purchase requisitions. We were able to create the purchase requisitions. Purchase requisitions can be created manually or via material requirement planning program, MRP program. Okay, so then the step number two, we also seen the what exactly the release process is. So purchase requisitions release process will be there as a step number one. Okay, then what is step number two? Step number two is the vendor selection process. So as a part of vendor selection process, I will be evaluating the vendors based upon the quality, cost, delivery terms and conditions. Okay, so to evaluate the vendors, we need to take three vendors into consideration. Let us say vendor 1 and vendor 2 and vendor 3. We will be taking three vendors into consideration, and against each and every vendor we are going to send a document known as the RFQ document. RFQ is nothing but a request for quotations, request for quote. So this is one of the document which will be created by the procurement department people and given to the one request for quotation for vendor number 1, one for vendor number 2 and one for vendor number 3. It is nothing but a request against the vendor for asking them to provide the details of the cost, quality and delivery terms and conditions for a particular material. Okay, so RFQ1 will be created upon vendor number 1, nothing but the request for providing the quotations. RFQ2 against vendor number 2 and RFQ3 against vendor number 3. Once the RFQs are received by each and every individual vendor, they will be again replying back with the quotes to the procurement department or the company. So that particular request for quotation, whatever may be the reply they have given against the quotation, will have the details of the price at which they are going to supply a specific material. Let us say I am asking them to provide the quotes for a particular bearing. So RFQ1, vendor 1 will give, he will say that he will be able to deliver the material at the rate of 100 rupees per piece. And he will say he will be able to deliver at the rate of 115 rupees per piece. He will say he will be able to deliver at the rate of 125 rupees per piece. Right? Also, the vendor once he will say he will, if I order the material today, he will be able to deliver the material after 30 days or after within 15 days or 2 days, let us say 5 days. This vendor said, if I order the material today, he will be able to deliver the material back to me in 10 days. And this vendor said he will be able to deliver within 15 days. Also, the payment terms means if this vendor provided you the material today, he will be asking the payment after 90 days. He will give you a credit limit of 90 days. And this vendor, if he delivered the material today, he will be asking the payment after 60 days. He is going to give a credit of 60 days credit. And this vendor, he is going to give a credit of 30 days. Also the warranty. Warranty means if this vendor will deliver the material today, he will give you a warranty of 5 years. Means within 5 years, if this particular material got corrupted or damaged, then he will he will replace the material with free of cost. And this vendor will deliver the warranted material within 3 years. Means he is going to give a warranty of 3 years only. But this, so if I am evaluating the vendors, I need to take these three parameters into consideration, and I need to evaluate and select one of the best vendor. Okay, so normally if you go to the any procurement department, you are going to evaluate the vendors based upon quality, cost, and delivery terms and conditions. Delivery terms and conditions. These are the parameters which you are going to use it for evaluating the vendor. But after maintaining all these parameters in the SAP system, I will be executing one report known as comparison quotation statement. Quotation comparison statement. Quotation comparison statement. Okay, so once I executed the quotation comparison statement, my system, based upon these three parameters, it is going to give a ranking. Okay, so by looking into these figures, my system is going to give a ranking number 1 to the vendor number 1 and ranking number 2 to the vendor number 2 and ranking number 3 to the vendor number 3. Why it is giving the ranking number 1 for the vendor number 1? Because he is delivering only at the 100 rupees, but the others are delivering at the rate of 115 and 125 rupees. Also, he is giving a credit limit of 90 days, he is giving 60 days, and he is giving 30 days. So by selecting all these parameters and comparing them, my system is trying to give a rank number 1 to the vendor number 1, rank number 2 to the vendor number 2, and rank number 3 to the vendor number 3. So he is the best possible vendor, and he is the second best possible vendor, and he is the third best possible vendor. Okay, so he is the best vendor, first best vendor for do the procurement, and he is the second best vendor to do the procurement of the bearing, and he is the third best vendor. So I am going to reject the quotation of this vendor number 3. Okay, so reject. Why? Because he is supplying at the rate of highest value compared to the other two vendors. Also, his credit limit is 30 days only. Also, he is giving a warranty of only 1 year. And I am going to keep these two vendors quotations as a active quotations. This vendor will be active and this vendor also will be active to do the procurement of a particular bearing. Why this vendor is, yeah, any questions? Hello? Okay. So I am going to reject the quotation number 3 of the vendor number 3 and keeping the quotations active of the vendor number 1 and vendor number 2. Why I am keeping two quotations active? Because if something happened to the vendor number 1, there will be a vendor number 2 who will be able to deliver the material to me. So that is the reason at any moment of time I will be keeping two active vendors so that I will not be able to lose the production because of the non-availability of the materials. Okay. So then, so any doubts over here?
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, in this you are saying that if you are one of the vendor having the saying his quality is very poor, but the rate is very less, and the delivery time is also very good. So by taking the three conditions, if any one of the, that means in the three quality, cost, and delivery, if anyone is not good, so it will be accepting that one.
No. If the vendor number one is quality is poor, okay,
Sir.
but the rate is less, then you will go for the vendor who is having the very good quality. Even though the price of the vendor number 3 is quite high, but he is supplying at the rate of very good quality, then you can select the vendor number 3 as well. Okay. So, but I just gave one simple example over here how a vendor selection process will be happening, but in the real time scenarios, you are going to consider the quality also. Okay, so even the vendor number 1 is giving for the low cost. If the quality is poor, you are not going to buy it from him. You will buy it from vendor number 3 only. Why? Because even though he is charging 25 rupees more, his quality is very good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So like how a purchase requisition is having the release process over here. So the request for quotation also will have the release process assigned to it. Any procurement document will have a release procedure included in it by default to control the unnecessary procurement of the materials in your company premises. Okay, so apart from this, let us say I have done the quotation comparison statement and I have selected one of the best vendor. Then again as that particular best vendor, I will start doing the procurement activities. Nothing but I will be creating various types of procurement documents as a part of step number 3. So what is step number 3? Step number 3 is nothing but create various procurement documents. Against the selected vendor. Okay, so but what are the various types of procurement documents? We have outline agreement. Outline agreement is one of the category of the procurement documents. When I say outline agreement, within the outline agreement there are again two categories. One is contract. Again within contract there are two contract types, that is quantity based contract and value based contract. Value based contract. Then you have the other type of category of the outline agreement, that is scheduling agreement. Scheduling agreement is the one category of the outline agreement. Within scheduling agreement, you have the scheduling agreement. It is a normal scheduling agreement. We have normal scheduling agreement, and you have the scheduling agreement with release. Scheduling agreement with release. Apart from the scheduling agreement, you are also going to create the purchase orders. Is one of the other procurement document which you are going to create. Create purchase order. This is one of the other procurement document which you are going to create as a part of step number 3. Okay, then what is a contract? We said we are going to create the contract, scheduling agreement, and the purchase order, right? Then what is the meaning of the contract? Can anyone tell what is contract?
Agreement between the vendor and the company.
Yeah. So it is a long-term agreement. It is a long-term agreement between purchasing or the purchasing organization of a company and the external vendor. Okay, so it will have validity periods, means it normally in India it will start from 01/04/2022 to 31/03/2023. Normally in India, contracts will have the validity period of 1 year. Sometimes you can have the validity period of 6 months, 3 months, or 9 months. But most of the contracts will have the validity period of 1 year. Okay, so every contract is a long-term agreement between the purchasing organization of a company and the external vendor to do the various types of material procurement and the services procurement. It will have a validity period like 3 months, 9 months, 6 months, or 1 year. Most of the contracts will have the 1 year validity. It starts with the first date of the financial year, that is 01/04/2022, and it is going to end on 31/03 of the financial year. Okay, so but what is contract? What is the difference between the scheduling agreement and the contract? And what is quantity based contract and value based contract? Quantity based contract is quantity based contract. In case of the quantity based contract, the agreement between the purchasing organization and the company and the external vendor is in terms of quantity. Means I will have an agreement between the vendor stating that from this date to this date, you please supply a bearings of 1 lakh pieces. Nothing but a quantity based contract. I am having the contract in terms of quantity between the vendor and the procurement department for a particular material. Nothing but a quantity based contract. Then what is value based contract? So value based contract is nothing but the agreement between the vendor and the procurement or the purchasing organization is in terms of value. Means I will have an agreement between these dates in terms of total value of, let us say, 1 lakh or 50 lakhs. Let us say 10 lakhs. Means I will ask the vendor to supply a bearings of 10 lakhs worth between 01042 31032023. So nothing but a value based contract. Okay. In contract, I will simply create the contract during the start of the financial year, and I am not going to give any delivery schedules immediately. Means I will create the contract against the vendor to supply 1 lakh pieces of the bearing from this date to this date, but I am not going to specify when to deliver this 1 lakh pieces. But when I will specify to this vendor only when there is a actual requirement of the bearings in my production department. Let us say the production department people came to my purchasing department today and they asked 20,000 bearings required for their production processes. Then what I will do? I will convert this particular contract into a purchase order for 20,000 pieces, and that particular purchase order I will be giving to the vendor again, so that he will deliver 20,000 pieces against the contract and against the purchase order which I have given. Okay, so it is a I can convert contract into a purchase order and ask the vendor to deliver based on purchase order quantity. Means I will be creating multiple purchase orders. I will be converting the contract into multiple purchase orders, so that based upon my actual requirement of the bearings in my company, so that vendor can deliver those materials against the contract converted into a purchase order. Okay, so any doubts on contract?
Sir, is the rate is fixed for entire 1 year or it will be variable, sir?
It depends upon your contract terms and conditions. In the contract, if you say the price is fixed during the entire year, then it will be fixed. But if you mention the terms and conditions in the contract is if the price changes, you are also going to make the payment according to the price changes. Then you can make the payment according to the price changes. It's all depends upon the how agreement you have with the vendor. Sometimes you can have it fixed price entire year. Sometimes it may vary based upon the conditions and terms which you agreed against the vendor.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so then what is scheduling agreement? Scheduling agreement. Scheduling agreement also one type of contract. It will also have the validity date, validity start date, and validity end date. So let us say I have a scheduling agreement which is quantity based. Let us say I have a scheduling agreement against the vendor which is quantity based, and I asked him to deliver 1 lakh pieces of bearings during this period. In case of the scheduling agreement, immediately after creating the scheduling agreement, I will also give the delivery schedules to the vendor immediately. Let us say on 30th 04/2022, I can ask the vendor to deliver 20,000 pieces against the scheduled quantity. I scheduled quantity is 1 lakh, and I will ask him to supply the 20,000 pieces as on today, as on 30/04. On 31/05, I will ask the vendor to deliver 25,000 pieces against the scheduled quantity of the scheduling agreement. On 31/12/2022, I will ask him to deliver again 25,000. On 31/03/2023, I will ask him to deliver the remaining 30,000 pieces. So this is nothing but a scheduling agreement. In case of the scheduling agreement, you are giving the delivery schedules whenever you whenever you give the scheduling agreement to the vendor itself, so that he will not wait for your again the release orders or the purchase orders, like how they are waiting in case of the contract to start the production. In this case, once you give the scheduling agreement, they will simply take these materials into production and they will start delivering the dates which is specified in your scheduling agreement. So any doubts in understanding the scheduling agreement? Hello? Any doubts in understanding the scheduling agreement? Okay. Okay. Then you have in the scheduling agreement and the contract also will have the release process included in it. Okay, so release process can be applied over here as well for the scheduling agreements as well as the contracts. Okay, so then what next? What is the step number 4 of the procurement cycle? The step number 4 is monitoring. You created the scheduling agreement, you created we have one more thing known as a purchase order, right? So what is a purchase order? Create purchase order. Purchase order is nothing but a one-time procurement document. It is a one-time procurement document. Means it is a one-time procurement document which is nothing but you want, let us say, 10,000 bearings today. You want 10,000 bearings today. Then you will create one purchase order. Vendor deliver the material again with this particular purchase order, and that's it. The purchase order is closed. Means it will not have any validity period, like in case of contract and the scheduling agreement, you have 1 year validity period, right? Like that, in case of the purchase order, there will not be any 1 year validity or 6 months or 3 months or 9 months validity period. So it will be a one-time procurement document based upon which the materials will be delivered to the company premises in a single time. Nothing but a purchase order. So purchase order also will have the release mechanism included in it. Okay, so what is the step number 4? Step number 4 is nothing but monitor procurement documents. Monitor procurement documents, like you created the contract, scheduling agreement and the purchase order. You created the purchase order and give it to the vendor. So the work is not yet done, right? So you need to make the follow-ups to the vendor. Let us say if you go to the any procurement department, there are people who will be continuously doing the follow-up activities against the vendor. They will become simply speaking on phones, right? What they are doing? They are doing continuous follow-ups against the vendors for the orders what they have created and given to them. Okay, so if you think that I have already created the order and given to the vendor, then you may lose the production. Why? Because like you, there are 10 to 15 different customers for the same vendor. If your quantity is only 1000 numbers and for other customers gave the quantity of 1 lakh pieces to the same vendor on order, then he will give preference to the vendor customer who has given the more quantity, right? In such cases, he will be losing the production because of the non-availability of the materials. So you need to ensure till the material received into your company premises, you need to make follow-ups again with the vendor. Okay, so how you are going to do the make follow-ups? You can call them directly via phone and ask them what happened to my material. What happened to my material? Will you be able to deliver the material or not? Like that, you need to continuously make the follow-ups again with the vendor. Otherwise, you can send in SAP system. There is one thing known as a dunning process. So what is dunning process? Dunning process is nothing but sending automatic mails, sending automatic reminder mails to the vendor regarding the procurement of the materials. Whatever the orders which I have given to them, they should deliver the materials within the delivery time which I have specified. It is like the dunning process is like SAP will be sending the mails automatically to the vendors and reminding them to deliver the materials within the stipulated time of the delivery schedules which I have given. So the dunning process is nothing but like you have taken one LIC policy, right? So when the premium date is coming, what will happen? They will be sending the reminders, right? Let us say okay, so let us say you have taken one LIC policy, your premium date is coming, right? Reaching nearby. Let us say your premium date is as on 31st04/05/2022. So what will happen? They will start sending the reminders as on 1st of May 2022. They will send one reminder. You will be receiving one message on your mobile stating that your premium is approaching as on 31st/05/2022. Please pay the premium immediately. Like that, you will receive one message as on 31/05/2022. Again, one more message on 10/05/2022. Again, one more message on 15/05/2022. Again on 25/05/2022. So it is sending the reminders automatically based upon the program what they have specified. In the same way, in SAP also there is one thing known as the dunning process. Let us say you created one purchase order. Within the purchase order, you mentioned the delivery date. Delivery date is nothing but the date on which you need this particular material in your company premises. So you specified the delivery date as 31/05/2022, and if you activate the dunning procedure, so it will send a reminder on 05/05/2022. One reminder will be sent to the system, sent to the vendor regarding the delivery date of the material. One more reminder on 2022, 15/05/2022. One more reminder. 25/05/2022. One more reminder. So your system can send automatic reminders based upon the dunning procedure which we have calculated and developed as a part of SAP materials management functionality. Okay. So any doubts on the dunning procedure?
Hello.
Yeah.
So does this dunning process is correlated with the goods received, whether it takes inputs from the goods received?
No, it will take input from the purchase order delivery date.
Okay. So it may happen that the goods is received, but it's sending the reminders to vendors. It may happen.
Pardon me?
If the material is received against the certain purchase order, still this dunning process can send reminders to them.
No, if you receive the material, then why do you want to send the reminders?
No, if it is an automated process, it can send reminders. even if it is
No, if you receive the material, then you can put some logic over there. So against a purchase order, if the material is already received, why do you want to send the reminders again? You can put one validation in the program so that it will not send reminders for the purchase orders wherever there is already a goods receipt completed. If you are unnecessarily sending the reminders, it will be a problem for the vendor, right? So he delivered the material, again you are sending the reminders. It is like you paid the premium, again you are receiving the mails stating that please pay the premium, please pay the premium. So you can avoid those things. For the purchase orders, wherever there is a goods receipt completed, you can exclude them and don't send the reminders to them. So this is how it will happen. Okay, so then
so we need to configure it out of it.
yeah, you need to take care of everything. Okay, so then what next? The next step in the procurement cycle is the goods receipt process. Okay, step number 4 is nothing but a goods receipt process. Step number 5 is a goods receipt process. Let me see, goods receipt process. Okay, so what is goods receipt process? You gave the order to the vendor. Vendor delivered the material. Vendor manufactured the material and he delivered the material to your company premises, right? So you received the material from the vendor. Then what you have to do? It will be coming to the stores department or the warehouse department. Any material that is being coming into the company as per the company standards, it should, as per the company standards, the material should first report to the stores department. So the stores department, once the material received to them, they will unload the material in the warehouse and they will keep it in one of the area known as a quality inspection zone. Okay, so whatever may be the material that is received, they will be keeping under quality inspection zone. Then they will intimate to the quality control department regarding the receipt of the material. So quality control department people will come and they will try to check the quality of the material which was received. Let us say the quality of the material, you received some 1,000 pieces, right? You received 1,000 pieces. Out of 1,000 pieces, 850 pieces are verified by the quality department and they came to know 850 pieces are found okay as per the quality standards. You received 1,000 pieces. Out of 1,850 pieces are matching the quality parameters. So these 850 pieces are made okay, accepted, and 150 pieces are not matching your quality standards, so they will reject. 850 pieces are okay and 150 pieces got rejected by the quality department. So for this 150 pieces, you need to make the goods receipt as one of the activity in the materials management or the inventory management process. So you need to register this particular goods receipt in SAP system. You will register for 1,000 pieces, but when you are accepting in the SAP system, you are going to accept is 850 and you are going to reject 150 pieces. Whatever may be the accepted quantity, you are going to move it to the unrestricted zone. Move to unrestricted zone. Means this material is a good material. You can use this good material in your production processes. This is the rejected material. You are going to move this rejected material to the rejection zone. So from the rejection zone, again you are going to return back to the vendor. Return to vendor. Okay, so for the quantity which got accepted, so when you do the goods receipt, there will be two things that are happening in the backend. One is quantity update in inventory management module, in IM module, or inventory management department, or the stores department. Okay, okay. So there will be a finance updates, financial postings also will be there. So when you do the goods receipt, the integration of the SAP materials management with the finance team is coming into picture, right? So what is that quantity update and the financial postings? Quantity update is nothing but today morning in your company and in your stores department, you have 1000 numbers of the pairings available as a stock. Then you received again 850 pieces newly, right? So you process at the 850 pieces. Then what will happen to your total stock in the stores department? It will be 1000 numbers plus 850 numbers. So there is a quantity update like this in the stores or the warehouse department. It is like you went to the bank and you deposited the money, right? So in the morning you have 10,000 rupees. You again deposited 10,000 rupees. Then your total bank balance will become 20,000. In the same way, in my stores or the warehouse department also, based upon the goods receipt quantity which I have done, the stocks of the materials are getting updated. Nothing but a quantity update in the inventory management module. Okay. So again, let us say I received one more 1000 pieces. My stock will become 1850 plus 1000, 2850. Like this, there is a quantity update in the inventory management module, right? Then what is financial postings? Financial postings means, let us say today morning I have 1000 numbers of bearings in my company. Each bearing is 10 rupees. Then what is the total value of the bearings? It will be 10,000 numbers. I received 850 pieces again. Each bearing is 10 rupees. So my total worth of the bearings that is reflecting at the finance side will be 10,000 plus 8,500. Again I received one more. 1 minute, I am getting one call. Hello? Okay, so again I received 10,000 numbers, each bearing of 10,000 10 rupees. Then my total value of the bearings for the 1000 will be 10,000 multiplied by 10. It will be 10,000 rupees. So then what is the total value that I will be reflecting at the finance side for the bearings? It will be a 2850. So at the finance side, I will be seeing the inventory valuation in terms of value. If I go to the finance department, they will say I have a bearings of worth 28,500 in my stores department. But when it goes to the stores department, they will say I have a bearing of 2850 numbers. So in the stores or the warehouse department, they will be always talking about the quantity. But when I go to the finance department, they will be always talking about in terms of value of the materials. So when you do the goods receipt process, as per the SAP standard, there will be a quantity update in the finance module and there will be a value update in the finance module. Quantity update in the inventory management and value update in the finance module. Okay, so any doubts on this particular goods receipt process explanation? Hello? Any doubts over here?
No, sir.
Okay, so now what next? The next activity is the invoice verification process. I made the goods receipt process, so I am okay with the 850 pieces that are being received from the vendor. Now I am liable to make the payment to the vendor for the 850 pieces, right? I am liable to make the payment to the 850 pieces. So it is a step number 6. Step number 6 is invoice verification process. Invoice verification process means I received 850 pieces. My quality department accepted the 850 pieces. So I am liable to make the payment to the vendor for a value of 850 pieces multiplied by each piece is 10 rupees. So to make the payment to the vendor for the 850 pieces to the value of 8,500, I need to register or do one activity in the inventory management in the SAP materials management known as the invoice verification process. As a part of invoice verification process, I will cross-check the SAP purchase order prices. Let us say I have created the SAP purchase order. In the purchase order, I mentioned I have raised the purchase order for 1000 pieces and I have agreed with the vendor for the 10 rupees for the purchase order price. Then what will be the total value as per the purchase order? It will be 1000 multiplied by 10. It will be a 10,000 rupees. But vendor also will be giving you the one invoice copy, right? So as per the invoice copy delivered by the vendor or the delivery challan, let us say delivery challan. So delivery challan, let us say delivery challan is, he gave you the delivery challan. In the delivery challan, he mentioned 1000 pieces he is supplying, but he mentioned each piece he is going to charge at the rate of 11 rupees. That means as per his delivery challan, it will be 11,000 rupees. So there is a 1000 rupees difference is over there for the delivery challan what he provided and the purchase order which we have created. So we need to know there is a conflict over here. So he is saying that he should receive 11,000 rupees for the materials which he delivered, but I am saying I will pay only 10,000 rupees. So we need to call him and ask him why he raised the challan when there is a agreement between he and me at the rate of 10 rupees, but he raised at the rate of 11 rupees. What is the issue? So we need to call him and discuss with him. He will say that my price of the materials got increased. That is the reason I have charged the invoice at the rate of 11 rupees. He will say like that. Then if you are fine with at the rate of 11 rupees, you can make the payment at the rate of 11 rupees. Or if you don't want to agree as per the prices which the vendor is charging at the rate of 11 rupees, you can make the payment as per the vendor invoice. Otherwise, you can make the payment as per the purchase order price which you have agreed with him. So this particular process which you are going to create in the SAP system is known as a invoice verification process. So any doubts on the invoice verification process? Hello? Any doubts on invoice verification process? Okay, so if there is no doubts in the invoice verification process, we are going to discuss. Okay, so the next step after the invoice verification process is payment run. So you created the invoice verification process and you agreed that you are going to make the payment of 10,000 rupees to the vendor. Then step number 7 is payment run. Let us say you agreed with the vendor. If he deliver the material today, after 30 days, you need to make the payment. So as on after 30th day, there will be one program that is getting executed known as a payment run program. That particular program, yes.
Sir, just I want to ask one thing. We have rejected 150 piece, then why, then we only pay 850 piece, na?
Yeah, you will pay only 850.
Yeah,
You will
actually,
pay 8,500 only.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, no issue.
Okay,
Then
so
what
payment,
about the 150 sir rejected item? Means it's a RA bill?
you will return back to him.
Okay,
You will return to the vendor back.
right.
Okay, so the payment run, when you are executing the payment run, what will happen? An amount of 8,500 rupees will be debited from company bank account and credit to the vendor bank account. So if you execute the payment run program, 8,500 rupees will be debited by the company bank account and it will be credited back to the vendor bank account. So these are the 7 steps which are included in the simple procurement cycle. Okay, so we can close the session till here today. Tomorrow we can continue with the what are the various types of business scenarios that are executed in the SAP materials management based upon the procurement cycle and the steps which we have executed or discussed now. There are some 14 different scenarios. All those scenarios we are going to discuss based upon the procurement cycle which we have discussed now. For all those scenarios, the steps are same. 7 steps will be there, but there are some here and there minor differences there. Those differences we will discuss on tomorrow's class. Okay, so any doubts on today's class?
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yes.
In case of scheduling agreement, shall we release any purchase orders, or vendor will make the payment against a scheduling agreement, or shall we release any purchase orders?
No purchase orders in case of scheduling agreement. You are going to do the goods received directly against the scheduling agreement.
It means in scheduling everything will be there, no, sir, right? Inclusive price, value, everything is there in
Yes, yes,
scheduling.
yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, sir.
Okay then. Thank you. We can meet tomorrow. Thanks. Bye bye.